pipe. This is going all the way into the floor, underneath the floor of the cabin. And I plumbed it into the cold side here. Now we see what happens. This is luxury running water. Off-grid running water. We can do dishes. This is gonna be awesome. Right, here is my 55-gallon drum that I use to transfer water up to the cabin. Obviously this is closed up so water doesn't splash out while I'm driving. And then the bottom one, I have a hose thread valve down here that this is what I hook up to the pump. And I'll show you how I do that. Here's the valve. Here's just a normal garden hose. Here is my transfer pump. This is a unit I got from Harbor Freight. It had really good reviews and I have to recommend it myself because it has enough pressure to lift the water all the way up to our little water tower. Works really great. And so this is the other end of the hose. One goes from the drum, and this is marked here, inlet and outlet. It's pretty easy. And just screw that in there. This is kind of ready. And the other cool thing about it is once it's screwed in is the water won't just come pouring out of here when I open the valve, as you'll see. So I'm going to open up the valve and I can hear the water flowing. And the important part about that too is that the pump needs to have water in it at all times. Otherwise it can be damaged if it's running dry. The other end, this is the end that's going to transfer into the house, into the water tower, as I call it. I'll tighten that up a little more. And then have an on-off switch obviously there. And then here, this is a 12-volt DC, which obviously works great for an off-grid application. I have this little kind of external battery switch here. So this is basically just a point in which I can access and get power without having to go inside the cabin. You could obviously also just connect this to the battery of your car. So now that's gonna have juice, and we'll turn this thing on. Go check out the water. It's gonna come out of here in a second. 3, 2, 1. There's the water. Let's turn it off. Now I'm going to take the hose into the house. Here we go. Okay, so here it is. The hose is in there. I have it kind of wedged into this door so that it can't go anywhere. It's going to restrict the flow a little bit, but that'll be fine. So here we go. Let's fire this baby up. And I know just from experience that noise, that tone it's making, it sounds a little unhappy. This is actually the sound it makes when it's primed in this water. When there isn't water, it's going to be more of a high-pitched sound, and you'll hear it, and I don't think you should worry that it's going to be destroyed immediately. It's just if you let it run like that without water for a while, you'd cause damage to the pump. And so if you listen up here, you can hear the water filling it up. And this pump, it's hard, this is kind of hard to believe, but I was not getting as much flow a month ago when I last filled this up, and the pump was starting to make a little bit of noise, and I went over here. Actually, I'm doing it right now. You gotta open up to let air flow, to let air in, because what will happen, oh, and there's my children playing. If you don't let the air in, It will collapse the entire barrel. You can hear the air rushing in. So this barrel, I wish I would have saved a picture, but I had to run and shut it off. But this whole thing, which is pretty beefy, was sucked in like somebody had, you know, crushed a plastic Coke bottle. That's how much power this pump has to put on it. So now the next part is, the other thing I need to improve on is, okay, right now when this thing gets full, it doesn't have, I don't have a way that it shuts off, or because it's not contained, the water can just spill out onto the floor. So that's another thing I want to do. I might do it electronically, or I might have some kind of electric shutoff. When it hits a float switch, it'll turn off the power to the pump, or we could just do it more old school and just, again, have this threaded in a way that once it goes full, you can't push any more water in, and at that point, again, the pump will probably start making some noise. So that's about it. That's how I fill it up. It's really not that much work once you have the setup going, and then I'll show you how well the water works when you are actually using the plumbing. Here we are just running it. And you can see, you know, it's kind of slow, but the benefit is it kind of restricts the amount of water you can use because it goes slowly. So it kind of encourages you to, you know, not use as much water. And here is the kitchen one, and I think because this has a bigger diameter source or flexible line, it runs a little better. So that's how well it flows. So I wouldn't really want, at first I was worried about the pressure, but like I wouldn't really want more pressure because, again, you're just going to blow through water too quickly. Otherwise, the drum lasts pretty long. It's a lot better than trying to wash dishes with this guy, which is also your drinking water, so you don't really want to mix the two. Lastly, I did add this guy here, because you always need a way to clean things outside, like maybe your dirty feet or whatever, or a bucket. And that, again, that looks great. That's all just the magic of gravity. So it's nice you don't have to worry about getting a pump going on that's going to make noise or add a little more complication to your system. So once you get the water in there, you know, you have weeks and weeks of just silent gravity driven water. So it's a great option. Looks like the plumbing. Basically, I used PEX because PEX is like the new kind of popular choice for plumbing because you don't have to do any soldering like you do with copper, and so it doesn't require as many tools or as much experience, because you can also use these press fitting, this kind of fitting, a shark bite fitting that I got at Lowe's or Home Depot. You can they're a little more expensive, but it's going to save you time, especially if you're in off-grid where you can't just run to the hardware store when you're like short on tools or something. So all you have to do is be able to, you know, cut this, stick it in there, and the piping is PEX is pretty flexible too, so you don't have to use a bunch of right angles like you do with like rigid PVC piping. But basically, this actually threads in to the bung here. 3/4 inch is actually, there's a tap. It's actually tapped. I didn't realize that. Otherwise, you can buy adapters here on Amazon that give you different pipe sizes. So that 3/4 goes into this 3/4 goes down. I just made it white instead of like a blue or a red because I don't have hot and cold water. I just have, you know, this gravity system. So anyways, that goes under the cabin, and then it comes back up, because the magic of water is always going to go as high as its source. So if the water's even at the bottom of the tank, the water can reach this high. So in theory, you could have a faucet this high. So this is, you know, about the minimum height you need to make this work. What you will find though is the water doesn't flow because there isn't a lot of pressure. It's not going to flow like it does at home. But let's just take a look. You can see I have the white PEX going up, running a couple adapters up to the line, and I just removed my hot side, as you can see here, because if you were to open that up, it could what it would do is just and there's nothing connected to it, it would just let the water fall out underneath this sink. So I have it shut off and blocked off. You can also cap the line if you want to get a cap